And joining me now, a member of Congress who has voiced support for the Iran deal struck this week. Some preliminary support, at least. Congressman Castro, a Democrat of Texas, a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thanks for joining us this morning. So let me start on that. You released a statement this week saying that you were pleased with, you were optimistic about the deal that was struck this week, or the framework that was struck for the deal this week. What in the days since that deal has come out have you heard more from the White House, from the administration on this, and where is your thinking on it right now?
Sure. No, we've been in contact with them. Well, I think that the prudent thing to do would be for Congress to wait until the final deal is struck and then make a decision about how they want to handle it. I think, Steve, as tough a time as the president may have selling this deal to Congress, it would be even tougher for the Congress to sell another war in the Middle East to the American people. And I think the president laid it out well. If our goal is to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, then there are really two routes here, either a diplomatic route or, in the end, whether it's sooner or later, it's military action. So what was very disconcerting this week is that you saw people right away, whether it was Tom Cotton or Mark Kirk or others, seem to suggest or open the door right away before a final deal has been reached to military action. And in my district and around the country, that is not a very popular thing, and it should be a last resort. Marco Rubio, for example, said that we shouldn't take military action off the table. I agree with that. That should be an option, but it should be a last option. And I would also point out that we also shouldn't take peace off the table and shouldn't take diplomacy the table.
I want to follow up on that, though. So I understand the basic point you're making about, look, if you're not going to pursue a diplomatic route, then yes, ultimately that probably does put you onto some kind of track towards conflict. But I guess the question is specifically this deal, specifically this diplomatic route. If this is something that Congress, that your colleagues were to decide, this is not a good deal, this is not a deal that's in the interest of the United States, do you think by rejecting this specific deal, we go onto a path to war?
I think it certainly brings us closer. I think Democrats are going to be, you asked the question, how will Democrats react to this, whether they will be part of the group in Congress that ultimately brings this deal down. I think Democrats are going to take a look at the specifics of the final deal, whether it makes sense for the country. They're not going to be part of scuttling this deal just to help people win political points with their base. And in a sense, it's a tough time to do this because we are just coming into the 2016 presidential cycle when Republican presidential candidates are trying to prove how different they are than President Barack Obama, are very reluctant to go along with anything that he's proposing. That's been the case for years now. But I hope, for the sake of the nation and for the sake of the American people, that Congress will be able to take an objective look at this deal. And I do think that Congress should have a role in vetting it. But if Democrats sense that this deal has already been prejudged, that Republicans are going to say no matter what, then I think you're going to find them much more reluctant to do something where the president's not going to be able to veto what Congress does.
Well, that's interesting because you see there is some oversight role for Congress. Let's play this out. A few months from now, let's say a final deal is struck, and that final deal would basically say the basic terms of this we know. Iran is going to basically curb its nuclear program in exchange for sanctions, the sanctions that have been imposed by the United States being lifted at some point. So the case that Congress would make, the case that would be made for Congress having a up-down vote on this would be, hey, those sanctions that are at the heart of these negotiations, at the heart of this deal, those sanctions were put in place by Congress. So if those sanctions are going to be lifted under the terms of a deal, shouldn't Congress get a yes-no vote on that? Not just some kind of advisory role, but a yes-no vote.
No, and that's an incredibly strong argument, and I think Congress should, but Congress should only get that opportunity if the deal is not prejudged. In other words, if you're saying no right now before you see the terms of it, then you've essentially undermined your credibility, and I think that's what's making it tough for Democrats in Congress right now when they hear Republicans speaking.
What would be your inclination? We say right now it's unclear. We talk about this bill in the Senate, right, that would give the Senate, oversight over this, give the Senate a vote on this deal. We're not sure exactly what's working through the House, but if a similar bill, so the Corker bill, were on the floor in the House, what would your position on it be?
Well, the first thing is I've observed Senator Corker from Tennessee, I think, has actually been very level-headed and reasonable in this process, even as others further to the right have, I think, reacted in a knee-jerk way. Like I said, I still support Congress having a role, but what I'm hoping is that this doesn't descend into another opportunity simply to bash the president and to say no just for the sake of saying no or to win political points in a presidential primary. And, Steve, that process is still playing itself out. I suspect that you won't see anything significant from Congress, at least until a final deal is done. That's certainly my hope also.
All right. Thank you to Congressman Joaquin Castro, Democrat of Texas. Appreciate the time this morning.